Yeah, Kevin, Baker said yesterday that when Odell has the ball in his hands, you can almost feel the oh crap moment that defenses might be feeling because he's such a great playmaker. Is that something you feel? And do you feel like his ability to make plays um, puts pressure on a defense that gives you other options elsewhere and really makes you unpredictable in the way you can call an offense?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd use the phrase Baker used, but I'd say he's dynamic with the ball in his hands. I mean, he's hard to get to the ground. When he's in space and has the ball in his hands, defense has a hard time getting him on the ground because he's just uniquely gifted in that way. So that's where it's our job to make sure we're getting him the ball in space.
Jeff Shadell, you have our next question.
Hey, Kevin, we were talking to Jarvis earlier. He mentioned that drive at the end of the first half, and he said that he could just feel the team kind of grow in that moment with no mistakes and all. Can you feel this team growing like that?
Well, that was our first 2-minute drive of the season. It took 3 games to get into a 2-minute. We've worked hard at it. We've spent a lot of time here at practice, so the guys were on point. And I do hope, though, Jeff, that there is growth from us each week.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll go to Nate Ulrich next.
Hey, Kevin, I know we talked to you a little bit about Donovan Peoples-Jones as a returner, but I was wondering, there was a short notice assignment for him to go in there for Cadero as the number 3 receiver, and how did he perform in that role?
Yeah, Nate, he did a good job. Those sometimes happen in a football game where you're called into action immediately, and you got to be ready to go. You got to study. You have to make sure your nose is in the playbook, and obviously his was, because he got lined up and did the job exactly how we were coaching him to do it.
Did you see physicality from him in the blocking game that stood out, and did you expect that type of tenacity from him?
Well, he got somebody on the ground on that very first play, and he's plenty big, plenty strong, so that's got to be a part of his game.
Thank you, Nate. Next up is Tom Withers.
Thanks, Rob. Hey, Coach. I remember asking Baker last year about Odell and just that skill set that he has. And you hear a lot about him, and then when you see it on the field, seeing is kind of believing. Did you have that reaction when you saw him, a guy that's able to come out of breaks and do things that normal people can't do?
Yeah, you and I can't do that, Tom. But he's a bouncy athlete, and he finds a way to go get footballs. It's very impressive.
And I don't know if you want to call last week kind of a reawakening, but from a coaching standpoint, when you have a player that kind of, regrasps that confidence, how important is it to keep that momentum going with him?
Yeah, honestly, Tom, week in and week out, we're trying to make sure we're difficult to defend, getting the ball to our playmakers. So, we go into every game wanting to get him involved, and Jarvis and Hoop and the backs and everybody. So we'll see what this game calls for.
Thank you, Tom. Scott Petrick, your line is open.
Hey, Kevin, what stands out when you watch Phillip Rivers this many years into his career?
Consistency. He can make every single throw. He's been doing it for a long time. The concepts that they're running, some of them, a lot of new stuff, obviously, but he's been running those concepts for a very long time. He knows where the bones are buried on those plays, and he gets the ball to the right guy almost every single time.
Does he still zip it like he used to?
Yes.
And have you asked Baker if he plans on playing until 2034, which I think would be the right math there?
That hasn't come up yet, no.
Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Tony Grossi, we'll go to you.
Hi, Kevin. When you're game planning for an opponent that is having some injuries at the same position group, like the Colts are at linebacker, how do you balance taking it into account versus not overreacting?
Well, I don't think their scheme will change, Tony, one bit, whether they have those guys or not. And we expect them to have those guys. They run a very, very sound scheme. They let their guys run. I don't think it's going to change what they do. They'll plug and play the next guy, and I promise you he'll be playing like his hair's on fire.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tony. We'll go to Mary Kay Cabot.
Hey, Coach, just wondering, do you have any hopes that Greedy Williams might actually be able to get some playing time this week, get back on the field? And then how are your defensive tackles doing today? Larry and Sheldon, are they going to be working at all, or how's that going?
Yeah, I would say I am hoping for Greedy, and we just got to make sure we're being smart and listen to the medical professionals. But I can promise you he wants to be back out there very, very badly, and he's working very hard to do that. As it pertains to the defensive tackles, we'll see what everybody can do today, taking information today, and then really tomorrow would be a real big day to see where everybody is.
Are they practicing today, or will they be out again today? Or
They'll be, we'll see. I think limited, but I'll get more information from Joe here in a second.
okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Daryl Ryder.
I was just going to ask you about Greedy, Coach. Was there any thought given to putting him on injured reserve when he had that injury, or did this injury end up being a little worse or take a little longer than you thought it would?
I think Greedy would think that too. You know, it's just one of those injuries you can't predict it. Again, he's disappointed. He wants to get out there. We're just trying to make sure that we're following the medical here. But he's into it. He's engaged. Great to see him finally back on the practice field and around his teammates and all that. But I'm hopeful that he's getting closer.
And, you know, Denzel's playing through that groin injury. Could you just talk about how he's gutted his way through it? And it doesn't seem like he's affected by it at all, which is, I guess, a little unusual for a guy, you know, if you're hurt.
He's done great. He does, you know, I don't know how many guys feel 100% right now, but he's pushing through it. He's playing well. We're counting on him, and he knows that.
Tony Grossi, back to you.
Kevin, you talked about easing guys in who missed a lot of time, and specifically on Mac Wilson. Now he's been back for 2 games and his snaps have gone up. Is he close to being eased in completely?
Yeah, I think he's getting close, Tony. I mean, I think, you know, all the guys that come back, the game sometimes dictates the reps. But, you know, the way I look at it, we're going to need everybody. We're playing a lot of guys at linebacker. We're playing a lot of guys in the defensive line. We're playing a lot of guys in the back end. And at some point in this year, we're going to need everybody to step up and play maybe a bigger role than they have right now. But as it pertains to Mac, we expect his role to continue to grow.
Thank you, Tony. Fred Greetham.
Hey, Coach, how did Adrian and David come out of yesterday, and they trending in the right direction for Sunday?
Yeah, I think kind of 2 different injuries there. But I would say with David, he's 100% to me.
Thank you, Fred. We have time for 1 or 2 more questions, if anybody has them. Marla Ridenour.
Just a quick one. Coach Prefer mentioned it. Tavier Thomas had almost like a season's worth of tackles in 1 game. Just what is he? I mean, what's so impressive about him?
He does a great job, Marla. Out on the practice field, he is locked in at practice. He every rep looks like a game rep for him. He's a tremendous leader by example. Could not say enough good things about Tom.